All right, today we're going to attack the steering wheel controls. First of all, you want to kill your battery, disconnect the negative terminal, make sure you have no power, turn the key on, cycle the light switch, make sure it's completely dead. Now this is not completely necessary, but it is a good safety precaution, and also if you don't have the tools to do the airbag reset, this will make sure that your light stays out. Because as soon as you remove this airbag, take the clip off of it, or the connector off of it, it's going to send a code to the airbag control module, and it's going to set an airbag code for you. So unless you have some kind of way to clear that, getting into the airbag module to clear it, I would recommend just disconnecting the battery, and there's less chance of accidentally deploying the airbag as well. So after you've done that, remove your key, grab the release, pull it all the way out to you, and down, out to you and down, and lock that in. Now on the back of this steering wheel, there are two slots, one on this side, and there's one on the opposite side just as well. You want to get two flathead screwdrivers, and you will put those from the back side in, and there will be a snap clip, like a metal clip in there that you need to pry against. You put both screwdrivers against it, pry in, and it will release the airbag. So let me see if I can set this up so I can show it otherwise. All right, this should give you about a gist of what you're wanting to do. So push these in any kind of orientation that you need. You'll want to go in pretty much at a perpendicular angle of the wheel. There will be a spring in there. When you go into that hole, you'll want to angle your blade flat horizontally as well. So when you go in, you should feel a spring right there. Feel that. And then as you're pushing on it, grab the airbag and pull it out. And you should see that that's released slightly. And then just do the same thing on the opposite side. That should release. And there it is. Let me move you around and I'll show you the rest of this. All right, once you're released, you come to this. You pop these up. See how there's a little wedge there? You pop that up, and then the connector will come off. So there you go. You just take a screwdriver, pop them up, and now they can just lift off. One-handed is a bit tough, but just give it a side-to-side wiggle, and they'll come right off. There you go. That's it for the airbag. Set it aside. Now you're left with this. So what you're doing with the screwdriver, this gives you an actual view. When you insert it in from the side, you see the screwdriver comes in right there. So you're going in and you hit that clip from behind, and you just give it a push, and you see up through that hole, you see the screwdriver. So you just go in horizontally with the blade, and you give that guy a push over, and that'll release the clip on the back of the airbag. And you give that a little pry forward, and then you do the same exact thing on this side, and that'll release it. At this point, we have to undo this guy and this guy, and that should lift off the front of this control panel. So once you remove those, for me, they were T15. You'll want to come to the back of the steering wheel. At the back here, you've got two more of them. This guy here was a T20. So was this guy. These two at the bottom, T20s. And then you give this lower portion a pry. As you can see, it's got some angle clips that just kind of clip into the steering wheel right there. This is kind of just some rubber, some thicker rubber, I guess. So just give it a small pry up, and both of these things should start coming out together. Now this does come out as one unit, and it is separated after you bring it out. I mean, it's a slight, you know, looks like they're mated here, but I believe they're jointed at the back somewhere. So for right now, this all moves as one piece. Watch out for the wiring. You'll probably need to disconnect at least this connector, and I believe that's all of them. All right, so as you can see, there's some more just hook clips there and there. They plug into that hole there and that hole up there. And yeah, so there's this one connector here. No clips, nothing. This is just a slide terminal. Slides in there. All right, these are just small little Phillips head type screws. Take all of them out. All right, once you got them all undone, these two tend to just kind of stick in here. They'll fall out once you flip this all over. But the screws are all the same size, so you don't have to worry about mixing them up. And again, watch this ribbon cable. Be real careful with it. Don't rip this apart. There's one, and there's the other. There's all the screws. Just kind of set them aside. This here, you will not need any more, not until you're done and ready to reassemble. So you can just set this aside. So in the end, what you're left with is this here. You take these clear covers off, and again, they are, you know, they go to one side, so it's not like you can mess this up even if you do keep them together. All right, you just set it aside. Now on this, it looks like they're using a 1206 LED. So we'll either replace this with a 1206 again, or we'll just go ahead with the PLCC2. I think I'm gonna try one of each, find a place to power this from, and then I'll show you what it looks like. I've decided to use the 1206, the same size as the ones that came on the original. The 2010 PLCC2s were just a little bit too bright in my opinion, and with it being in the steering wheel, kind of even closer to your face, I didn't want it to overpower the rest of the interior. It will still stay pretty low and subtle, but it will be white and distinguishable. So you don't have to go into the car and test all of this. It's good to test this on the bench. This would be the perfect time to whip out some kind of 12-volt power source, or really a 3-volt power source. Really, you can actually do this with a just a battery, like a cell battery, like a watch battery, I guess you could say. So Those are 3 volts, and then you won't need the resistor. You just take some wires, solder to the front and the back of the battery, and you can just prod around. If you want to test to make sure you got good connection on all of these LEDs, on the right side of this module assembly, the main side, this top lug here is the ground, and then there's these small little holes that are attached to each one of these LEDs, and those are the power sources. So there's just like a small hole with a trace going to one side of the LED. That's where the power is coming from, and you can just touch each one, touch the actual hole, not the LED, and that's actually sending power through the board to the LED. And this will actually show you that you have good connections, good solder across your board. Easy way to test, so you don't have to plug in the battery to connect the airbag, you know, and have all this dangling trying to make sure that you don't drop anything. So that's a good way to test it all out. So we'll reassemble it now and go back out to the car and finish it up. If you do accidentally flip this assembly over and get these pieces all scattered, as you see, they are all individual pieces. They are mirror copies of each other, so it's not like you can position them in the wrong place. If you look at the actual buttons themselves, they have small cuts in them. I don't know if that's really going to show up well on camera, but anyway, there's a small cuts in here that pretty much mirror the side of each of the buttons. So when you do have them all out like this, the ones with the squares, they go to the bottom and they just drop in, and these that have that diagonal cut on them, they go on top. Same thing on the opposite side. So back in position. You'll take the clear plastic here and position it back over the actual board. This has the switches, or contacts at least, that cause the whenever you push down on the buttons, they'll actually press down and make contact on the board for the switch inputs. So once you have that TPU over, just make sure they all line up correctly. Get this edge all the way over. Just kind of feel around, make sure it lays flat. Once you have that, flip it over and drop it in. Now, again, be careful as you're doing this, because this TPU material, this may want to try to fall off. So just be gentle with it. Just get it all in place without messing it up. There are these little rails, I guess. It's like an alignment kind of wall, and there are slots on each side that these do slide onto. Make sure the ribbon cable is not kinked, bent, torn. Just gently position it up above the board and slide the buttons back down. Once you're there, put your screws all back in. And that's it. We're complete here. Go back to the car, put it all together, and show the final product.
All right, so here we are back in the car. First thing, this connector here, plug it in. For me, these cables here, they routed through this small little area right there. So tuck those back in there and then cover it up with the steering wheel cover. One thing I did make a mistake on, these screws in here, they actually were a T20, but the T15 did fit in there easily enough, and they weren't extremely tight by any means. They're just in there, snug enough. So the T15 did fit, but they are actually T20 bolts. At this point, you just push the airbag back into its slots back there. But now that it's all hooked up, this is a good time to verify that everything works. All right, batteries installed, airbags pop back in. Turn the lights on. We have everything back. White lights. They are not in your face bright. That's the advantage of using that 1206 versus the PLCC2. We could have used the PLCC2 and gotten them a lot brighter, but since the steering wheel is just a lot closer to your face, you just don't want that shining all over your eyes. And this is just enough to illuminate the button so you know what it is, but it doesn't really like blind you or anything. So there it is. If you want it brighter than that, the PLCC2 is the way to go. They are about the same form factor. The PLCC2 LED is just a bigger LED and will produce much brighter light. But for me, this is good. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next one.